Hey guys, all 10,000 of you. Recently just went over 10,000 subscribers. Obviously, I'm really excited about that. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, all of you for watching over the past year. This is my yearly update as well, so kind of a 10K celebration as well as a one-year NMN update. I want to tell the story from the vantage point of now. I want to go back, look at the things that I went through that led me to taking resveratrol and NMN. When you look back through it a year later, you see it a little differently, and the advice is altered a bit. The direction is altered a bit and individualized a little bit more for different people in different situations. Going to give away a ton of stuff, over $1,000 worth of supplements today. Thank you, DoNotAge, for stepping up and also for sending me a cool plaque that I now keep over there. You can't really see it so well, but trying to point to it next to my record, my synth pop project from a couple decades ago. Thanks for that plaque, guys. They were thinking about me. They were proud of my accomplishment, and they've been a great partner, and they've been a great partner to all of you. In fact, over 1,000 people have used my code, The Pulse, over the past year to get supplements from DoNotAge. And gosh, over 80% of the NMN takers have experienced positive results. I'm always going to look at that 10, 20% and try to figure out why. And I've got some more information coming soon that hopefully will be helpful to either those of you not getting the results you want or those of you only getting minimal results. There may be some other things to explore to try to work on that. It's constantly on my mind. Of course, we want to help everybody that we can. I want to see everybody experience the benefits I've been experiencing. Certain supplements help, certain supplements do different things. I have a whole stack of supplements I take now. I'm not going to get into everything today. There just isn't enough time, but I'm going to touch on a few key stories along the way. I'm going to give you my update over the past year, as well as that kind of history through the different lens, and also talk about agendas and talk about why quite possibly and quite likely, we're hearing a lot of conflicting information about certain supplements that I find very interesting and worth sharing, and also some information about the medical industry and where I think it can go. And in general, I want to wrap things up and talk about where this channel is going to go forward, where I think medicine is going forward. And we're going to give away things throughout the video. So stay tuned to it all. I think there's some great information for you. And without further ado, I want to get back to the beginning of it all. About 3 years ago, when I felt like I was drifting away. I've talked about this in the past, but it was quite difficult. As a matter of fact, I remembered going to the grocery store and rearranging my shopping list so that it matched the grocery store walk, because I just was uncomfortable walking, even through a grocery store. I had to pull myself off from the top of the car door to pull myself out to avoid too much pain in my legs. This was especially worse when I tried to exercise, because the day or two after, the recovery time was very difficult, to say the least. And it would take me, I would never recover fully. So it would take like a week to feel quote unquote normal again. Whereas now I'm in this perpetual exercise state where every day I feel great and every day I'm able to exercise. Okay, sometimes in different ways, or sometimes I don't play tennis. But like today, I'm not going to play tennis after 3 days in a row, but I plan to run later today. So I'm feeling obviously great. I'll be 58 in just about 2 months. And I feel 28. I feel like I'm recovering like I did back then. I can't remember in my 30s or 40s not pushing exercise or heavy exercise to at least every other day. There was always some recovery time. So it just seems like I don't have that issue at all. And I really just don't remember the last time that was the case. I've always had soreness the next day. So quite amazing. And that's why when people ask, hey, I'm in my 20s, hey, I'm in my 30s, should I be taking this too? I personally say probably not, but I don't flat out say no. It's a decision you have to make. It's a personal decision, depends on your own health, depends on your own state of affairs. And, talk to your doctor, research it yourself, draw those conclusions, because I feel better than I did in my 20s. So it's hard for me to tell someone, no, not for you, when it's helping me the way it is. And what's helping me? Well, the big thing was resveratrol. The irony is there continues to be so much mixed information. I've never seen a supplement or a compound or any really topic be so hotly debated for decades like this one has been. Yet, my first 2 years were almost strictly resveratrol. So the benefits that I had in my before and after pictures were not NMN related, other than a short 2.5 month period where I took NMN that was helping me feel great. Then I got to an NMN Max that was fake. There was no NMN in it, according to the lab results that we got back here locally in mine. So it was resveratrol that was giving me that big before and after result. NMN was definitely a multiplier. Definitely a year ago, I reached different heights. I felt amazing, and I was inspired to tell that story. But most of my story happened from resveratrol. So while we're in this rush to replace it, now I'm down to every other day. I mean, I'm listening to the reports as well. I now exchange it with every other day with quercetin, and then I take Fisetin once a month. And then I stop resveratrol and quercetin while I'm taking Fisetin. So I'm kind of tiptoeing around this, but looking back on it, like I said, through the lens of now, man, resveratrol was huge for me, very big. I was able to recover. I was able to exercise more. Was it the exercise that caused the weight loss and a lot of the improvements? Yes, I'm sure it was. However, the inflammation around my neck, the puffiness around my eyes, exercise never got rid of all that before. So to see it all, I think it was a combination. I think it was synergistic between maybe some anti-inflammatory effects of resveratrol, being able to recover faster, exercise more, and then build on that exercise and build on that tennis mostly. So a year ago, started to take NMN, had a surgery in October. I'm going to talk more about this all in a second. Had some setbacks that I want to talk about. But first, I want to talk about how I came about making this channel, and a couple quick shout outs to David Sinclair, Brad Stanfield, Vince at My NMN Experiment, and Richard at Modern Health Span. Those were the main drivers, influencers for me to start on this journey. They all started NMN before I did. Now, Brad stopped famously a year ago. Now he's taking it sometimes again when he's sick. Vince and Richard, and obviously David Sinclair, have been very consistent at taking NMN since they started. And they've all done really well and reported a lot of great results. So that influenced me quite a bit. So I want to shout out to those guys. Thank you, guys. And I have this channel, and I'm doing this, and I'm on this journey in great part because of all of you, especially David Sinclair. But then after I heard about David Sinclair and heard about his comments and his research, then I went looking for more people who were doing it. I wanted to hear the examples from just regular folks who were just buying NMN. It's one thing to get it yourself, source it through the lab, and be able to test it yourself and confirm that it's pure and safe, etc. But from people who went out and had to go purchase it. And they were paying a lot more than I could afford. I remember Brad talking, again, famously about not being able to afford it. He wants to take it later, and then suddenly he started taking it, and then he stopped. Vince and Richard, fortunately, were able to afford it from a pretty early date, a couple years ago, I think, at least, for both of them. And I believe Vince is going on 3 years now. And they've stuck with it, and they've stuck with their channels and stuck with the updates. And it's been a fascinating journey to kind of share with them as well. So I hope this is just the first year of many. I plan for that to be with you guys. I've differentiated myself a little bit from them in that I'm a Native American English speaker, so a little different perspective, a little different voice, a little different background. I've gone all in on exercise where they exercise. I think I've probably multiplied that by 2 or 3, frankly. I've gone a little bit over the top probably, but I've had great results with it, so it's worked really well. And I'm sort of pushing the envelope to see what's possible so that no matter where you are in the spectrum, hopefully you can glean something from it and gain something from it as well. As I said, I had a surgery in October. Some interesting things occurred regarding that hernia surgery. That was a 2-year-old injury. And now it's been 3 years, but at the time it was 2 years old that I had postponed due to the pandemic. And I had decided to go ahead that it was safe to go spend 3 days in the hospital last summer. And so it was booked for October. But lo and behold, I started taking NMN late July. And by the time October 7th rolled around, it was time for the surgery, my discomfort had gone away. So I had had not constant pain from the hernia, but when I got out of bed in the morning, or if I stepped a certain way down the step or moved a certain way in my desk, certainly playing tennis at times, the doctor okayed tennis, but there were times when I'd go to my left side and push off that I'd have a sharp pain. It would go away, or I'd sit down for a few minutes, it'd go away. So it was really odd that it all stopped. So that was the first bit of information that was sort of indicating that NMN was doing something more than just giving me energy. Then when I got to just before I checked in, they did my blood work, and it came back better than it has in 20 years. I can't remember ever, in the past couple decades, not having high liver enzymes, not having some borderline cholesterol issues, and everything looked great. I never had the doctor read my results and say, "Oh, yeah, you're totally healthy. Everything looks perfect." There's usually one or two things where they're telling me cut back on fats, cut back on sugars. Now, I did cut back on fats and sugars, but it wasn't right when I started NMN. So, could that have been a week or two from that? Possibly. Liver enzymes, fatty liver takes a little longer to reduce, yet it was gone. I had no signs of fatty liver. They'd done a sonogram, they looked at the area, and there was nothing there. So it was interesting. Now, my vitals, when I got to the hospital, were suddenly that of a pro athlete. I had a resting heart rate of 50, 51 the entire stay. They test your vitals like 20 times or more. And I had a great resting heart rate. Matter of fact, they thought maybe it was too low at first. They didn't know what was going on. I say I exercised a lot. They say, okay, that probably explains it. And then my blood pressure was perfect and consistent, like clockwork. Like you could just set your watch. They even made the joke that they could just repeat all of, my readings because it's the same every time they checked it. So very consistent, normal blood pressure and normal heart rate, or very low heart rate actually. Then the operation took place. Doctor repaired it. I'm post-op. I'm waking up. He comes in the room looking confused. And right away says, I did the procedure, but it was sort of strange. There was so much healed scar tissue around the hernia that it looked like it was a 20-year-old injury. Did you have this much longer than when you came in? And I don't remember having anything. It's something that popped up one day. I went to the doctor and had him look at it like right away. Because you get a bump and you're scared. So no, I don't remember having, and I never had discomfort before then, and I never had any issues with that area. So no, and he said, well, it was healed, which kind of explained why the pain went away. Had there been some accelerated healing going around? He said, well, I went ahead and removed it, but then closed it back up and put the mesh in. But yeah, it had healed around the area. It had closed itself off. So my body was doing some interesting things. That being said, I can't say for sure that it was NMN, but I haven't had any more injuries since. And injuries, other than a couple things I'm going to tell you, which was from pushing it too hard, but I haven't had the kinds of injuries I was having up until that time, I should say. Now, I decided that I'm all in at this point. I'm going to be version 2.0. I used that phrase with my wife several times. Got my new glasses. My prescription improved from the prior prescription, which was like 10 years old at that point. I'd had my old glasses too long. They don't slide on my head. I still have the habit of pushing them up. The old ones did. So somebody zinged me for grabbing my glasses. Sorry, it's just an old habit. They die hard. But I had planned then to start recovering end of November, December, start exercising again, and then January hit the ground running. And I did. And I overdid it. Like, I didn't warm up. I wasn't stretching enough. I wasn't doing enough of a walking warm up. I started sprinting, flying down the street. I had so much energy from NMN. I was just blitzing down the street. And I ended up pulling something in my lower back, extending down into my hamstring. And that was a real jarring experience for me because suddenly, I felt like I was going to be Superman, and I realized not likely. And at that point, the recovery process, I also, within like a few days before, had hurt my wrist, found out I had a torn tendon playing tennis. Now, I took a weird shot. I was overly aggressive. I was hitting against someone who hits really hard, a 30-year-old guy, and I hurt my wrist. So now I'm rehabbing. Now I'm feeling like not immortal, but totally mortal. And I stopped making videos from January to April while I was going through the full rehab process. And the reason was not that I wanted to withhold any information about it, but I wanted to give more complete information. And I've started to do that in a few of my videos, but I didn't ever tell the full story because I was kind of waiting for this big annual update to give it all to you, to let you know all the information. I have to say, since April till now, I've improved my 5K run time by 10 minutes. My exercise routine is fantastic. I have 0 lower back pain, 0 hamstring pain. Once in a while, a little tweak in my shoulder, but I play so much tennis. It's understandable. It's the serve motion, and I'm putting more and more torque on that shoulder because I'm serving harder and harder. So kind of understandable stuff, but really, I played tennis over the weekend. I won a loser's round at a tournament. It's the first time I've done that. I'm not a great player. I'm not a bad player. I'm somewhere in the middle, but I'm starting to beat players that I've been losing to. And it's the way that I'm moving around and using the whole court and running down balls that are like literally my opponent stopped and started applauding because I was at the net on the right side and I reversed. He hit a ball past me. He thought the point was over. And I darted back the other direction and was able to get around the ball and hit a backhand in down the line. And I turn around and he's like standing there, just stunned and clapping mid-court, which doesn't really happen very often here in Germany when you're playing tennis that they clap for you. But yeah, I'm moving around well. I'm playing like I did in my 20s. I'm moving around like I did in my 20s. It's amazing, and it's every day. I just played 3 days in a row, no problems. So There have been many, many results that I've experienced, and yes, I do feel like I'm back, but I did have these setbacks, and frankly, looking back on it, I overdid it. So my advice is don't overdo it. Stretch, warm up, ease your way into any of this, whether it's taking supplements, whether it's exercising, you're making these changes, try to do them as gradually as you can, other than quitting sugar, which I would advise people do abruptly. My brain fog cleared right up. My thinking worked so much better. My mind worked so much better after I quit sugar. I can't recommend it more. Now, I still have splurges. I still have a little bit of if it's freshly baked cake or some breads, I'll still have some of that stuff once in a while, but far as having ice cream or candy daily, I just don't do it. And I've reduced alcohol a lot, which I've talked about as well. One of the things that I have done is started Fisetin. Now, I want to mention that because it's been really, not all of these supplements do you feel immediate results. And people are not reporting immediate results from Fisetin in general. But for some reason, it agrees with me. Now, I don't know if it's my exercise routine, my overall supplement or wellness routine, but for some reason, it really agrees with me. So when I take it for this 2 or 3 day flush, and I've been doing 3 days, the protocol coming out of Mayo Clinic is 2, but sometimes 3 days in a lot of their human clinical trials. And man, has it worked really well for me. Now, I did it at the beginning of August, tried it again the beginning of September. What was interesting about September is after the 3 days, the energy spike kind of came back down, but it seemed like the baseline was higher than it had been. So there was a little more carryover after the second time. Specifically today, I'm starting it again. So I'm going to do 2 this month to see if I get the bump twice a month, because it was so great that I thought, wow, man, I'd like to feel this way more. And if there's some carryover, even better. Having said that, the first giveaway is Fisetin. We're going to give away a container of Fisetin. How you qualify for the giveaway is to leave a comment. And it really doesn't matter as long as I can reach you. Make sure that I can either reach you in the About section or that you check back after the fact for a response to your comment. So when you leave a comment asking about it, be sure to check back and see if you won, because I did have trouble reaching one winner in the past few months. I'm going to give away more stuff. So don't go away. But so far, that's the first one, and that's the story behind it for me, and why I am honestly, genuinely very excited about it. I want to talk a bit about agendas and some of this mixed messaging that we're receiving concerning resveratrol, especially because it was such a big winner for me that it caused me basically a lot of confusion. Like, I don't really understand why, like Pfizer, for one thing, has spent so much money, it's put so much energy, but I've got some new information about that topic that I think you should hear. First of all, I want to start off with the fact that the pharmaceutical companies employ in the United States, are you ready for this? 81,000 pharmaceutical representatives that visit doctors actively. You've probably seen them, I certainly have, in the waiting room with their nicely groomed haircuts and their suits, men and women, very professional looking with a briefcase. And they really don't talk things up with they're kind of keep to themselves, maybe play around on their cell phone, and then, they'll go in and eventually obviously see the doctor. Now, why is this? I've had this conversation with myself and kind of rehearsed this moment many times and had it more animated than others. But I've thought about this topic so much and how I was going to explain it to you guys, or at least my take on it. But I really, at the end of the day, I don't understand why you need 81,000 reps for 830,000 doctors. It's a 10-to-1 or 1-to-10 ratio. What is it that they're providing? Free samples? Those can't be mailed. Those have to be explained in person. This is this. I can kind of get that. I just don't understand why so much money. It costs a lot of money to send sales reps around, or even if you're just having them travel locally or regionally, it's just quite an expensive endeavor to have that many professional people who are capable of explaining different drugs to doctors. But then there's more to the story. They found over 700 doctors were paid more than $1 million by drug and medical device companies. Okay, so now you start to wonder what's in those briefcases. Trips to Cabo, et cetera, et cetera. 48% of doctors, so 48% of doctors at least, right, that we were able to track or that they're able to share information on, receive some kind of payment from the drug or medical device industry. I'm painting a picture here of agendas. I'm not saying that all of these doctors and all these pharmaceutical companies are up to nefarious, no good deeds. I'm just saying that they're promoting an agenda that we can't compete with that many people out there. They're not paid by insurance companies or by Medicare, so they don't have the funding that these guys have to promote their wares, their drugs. And so the idea behind taking supplements or eating healthy for that matter, or living healthier, is to avoid illness. Obviously, the purpose of these drugs, most of the time, some of them are preventative for certain cases. Most of the time, they're treating something. You have a condition. Whereas the concept behind, or my agenda anyway, is to prevent allergies. So I don't have to take Zyrtec. That's just my own personal thing. I haven't had to take a lot of drugs, and many of them don't agree with me very well. Xanax is another one for occasional anxiety attacks. I no longer have anxiety attacks since I've been taking Resveratrol and NMN, and I haven't needed those drugs. So I haven't needed Zyrtec or Xanax, for example. So I haven't had to treat the illness. So there's a conflict of interest there. There is an agendas that don't overlap between preventative steps, measures, and I do consider dietary supplements as a healthier choice than taking a pharmaceutical, probably in most cases. Maybe not always. And some people have side effects to resveratrol, for example. But these supplements, what defines them, what gains them the category of being a dietary supplement is that they exist naturally in our food supply. So I view them as a different approach. And it's to me, it's to be more preventative in nature. Now, Pfizer spent at least tens of millions, probably more like hundreds of millions of dollars promoting an antiretroviral Resveratrol, an almost David Sinclair campaign around 2010, and really destroyed the momentum for resveratrol at the time. And there was a huge spike in even wine sales up to that point. But Pfizer funded a paper that has at least partially been debunked, by the way, since. But now we're in this murky zone of, is the stuff working and is the stuff not? And then you've got fake supplements out there, which make things even more murky. And then there's light being shined on that, rightfully so, but sometimes exaggeratingly so. We've got conflicting agendas. There are people that see an opportunity to make money, and there are companies that see a threat to their revenue streams. Something I found really, really fascinating is new information looking up this topic, especially the topic of Pfizer. And on Pfizer's website, you can now find information on Sirtuins. So they're co-opting the actual language that came out of the Sinclair lab, and also the Cert6 language that came out of Vera Gorbanova's lab at Rochester. And I'm reading this information, and I'm like, why are they sharing this? The stuff that they've been trying to debunk for over 10 years, now suddenly they're sharing the information and the scientific studies. Granted, with some mixed bag, more research needs to be performed, etc. But then I read the last line, and I realized what I think is going on here. There's been enough results, in my view, that they are now saying, once better understood, in other words, they're the authority, right, to understand what's going on with sirtuins. The sirtuin family may prove useful. They're going to use it in identifying novel drug targets that can point to preventative treatments for age-related illnesses. So it feels to me, it certainly looks like, and this may not be all bad, folks. They may actually develop some novel drug targets that help do these things, like boost NAD levels or, activate sirtuins and extend life. This wouldn't be a bad thing. I just find it a bit disingenuous to, on the one hand, say, oh, that's not really working. And then, several years later coming back and saying, well, that's really working. Matter of fact, we're studying it, and, we're going to understand it, and then we're going to identify some novel drugs for you. Preventative is a little bit worrisome based on what's happened the past 3 years with Pfizer, and that they've been able to conspire with government to impose their pharmaceuticals on the population. Now, if you think about anti-aging and the cost involved in aging research, or in aging treatment, I should say, there's some concern that, what are we really talking about here? And I think that's kind of fair game, based on everything that's happened. When you get billions of dollars from government, I think, you're a fair game for some skepticism when you're lining up your next billions. But there you go. This is on the Pfizer website. Quite fascinating stuff. Now, speaking of the Cert6 activator, that's the second part of the giveaway. 366 capsules. That's a quite expensive prize, somewhere around $400. So congratulations to whoever wins that. The grand prize is coming up in just a moment. Going forward, I want to talk a little bit about where this channel plans to go, where I plan to go, some of the things I'm researching right now, and to get you guys thinking about it too, to not only let you know what to expect, but to sort of try to synchronize our mindsets a bit so that our agendas can hopefully match up with the agendas of the medical industry as a whole. I have no illusions. I think the pharmaceutical companies are always going to be pharmaceutical companies, but I believe that through testing, blood testing, biomarker testing, wearable technology, hopefully an app one day that can test our levels and compare with before supplements, after supplements. If we change a supplement dosage or a pharmaceutical dosage for that matter, we can see the results in more real time through real-time measurement, and of course these occasional blood tests that probably aren't fully going to go away, but over time, it'll be more real-time measurement, I believe. So I want to look into the existing technology and also track what's coming. Hopefully, we'll sort of see this stuff meld together and turn into this data-informed medicine so that we can have data-informed medical profiles for each of us so that we can get personalized results. I understand that right now, those of us taking supplements, NMN, those of us practicing wellness, even keto diets, even fasting, it's sort of our own personal. The only way that we can really measure our results is sort of personally. There are blood test results that we can get, but they come so much later after the fact that our immediate day-to-day results is what we use as a general guide for the most part. But hopefully that can evolve and change, and those are the kinds of things, including NAD injections. This is something I'm looking into right now. They've had great success at over thousands now of clinics giving either intravenous treatments of NAD plus directly in the blood or through injections like once a week. This has been particularly helpful for people with addictions, drug or alcohol addictions, and this treatment has been very effective for those people. Also for people with long COVID, also some Parkinson's sufferers. So that's something I'm looking into as well, trying to find out when is that right. Now, it's a lot more expensive than buying NMN, taking it slowly over time, but it can have faster acting results and can certainly help intervene as an intervention treatment for certain illnesses and addictions. So it's something that I'm going to share with you. I'm looking into it. I'm talking to some clinics. I'm talking to a CEO right now that manages clinics all over the world, and going to collect some of that information and share it with you and see who that may be right for. Some of you not getting results from NMN might get results from a direct NAD therapy. We'll just have to kind of see how that goes and see who that helps. Now, I want to get to the grand prize, which is not only another Sirt6 activator. Yes, the grand prize winner also gets a Sirt6 activator, but you're going to get these branded exercise bands. They come in different colors and strengths. I use them for my shoulder all the time. They're very useful. You're also going to get a branded DoNotAge mug. You're also going to, there's more supplements. You're also going to get some swag. You're going to get a DoNotAge branded t-shirt as well. You're also going to get a container of hydrolyzed collagen peptides that I've been taking. Too early to gauge results. I've been on it almost a month, but promising. Definitely seeing some hair grow a little faster, eyebrows growing a little faster, strangely. Some positive initial results, but I'm going to hold off judgment on collagen until I've taken it a little bit longer. You're going to also win a container of pure hyaluronic acid. That's something I started taking back in November, and I think has helped with my joints and my skin. And Sulfura Boost. 60 capsules of that as well. So a great grand prize. Thank you, DoNotAge. Thank you guys for watching. I look forward to seeing you again really soon, and take care.